Well, hello, everyone. Good to have you with us on Red Barn Radio. I'm Brad Becker. Tonight we are in our 21st season of Red Barn Radio, and we welcome you to show number 782. Oh. Tall Poppy String Band, our guests this evening, are three super talented traditional music players whose songs and sounds draw upon the deep well of American string band music. While some of their old-time sound may be familiar to you, a closer listen will reveal the band's playful curiosity. Their compositions challenge assumed roles of instruments in unique ways. They lock into downbeats from obscure source recordings, and they tinker with pronouns, heaven forbid, in traditional bluegrass songs. Tall Poppy String Band music definitely shows, as it said, how tradition is still being written. Welcome, Tall Poppy String Band, to Red Barn Radio.
Let's see what we can tinker up. 1, 2, 3. Everybody hit it. Come within gap, I don't wanna go. Oh, come within gap and eat my hole. Come within gap, I don't wanna go. Don't wanna go.
Good evening and welcome to Red Barn Radio. Wherever in the world you're listening, welcome to Roots Music Southern Style. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn Radio's official radio partner, NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. Red Barn Radio is supported by Visit Lex, Lexington, Kentucky's Convention and Visitors Bureau. More information on what Lexington has to offer is at visitlex.com. LexArts, Lexington, Kentucky's premier cultural development, advocacy, and fundraising organization, working for the development of a strong and vibrant arts community as a means of enhancing the quality of life in Central Kentucky. Follow Red Barn Radio on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Here's the host of Red Barn Radio to tell us more about tonight's performers.
Well, what a fine trio of old-time musicians we have on Red Barn Radio this evening. On clawhammer banjo is Cameron DeWitt, based in Portland, Oregon. Camera was called among the finest clawhammer banjo players alive by R.D. Eno of Banjo Newsletter. Mark Harris, originally from Australia, is a guitarist now based in Fort Collins, Colorado. Mark's debut album, Old Time Guitar, is a collection of 15 instrumentals showcasing a groundbreaking approach to the guitar, which really helps one rethink its role in old-time music. Fiddler George Jackson, originally from New Zealand, here on Red Barn for the second time, is now based in Nashville, and this past year was awarded Instrumentalist of the Year at the 2022 IBMA Momentum Awards. Welcome back to the Red Barn stage, Tall Poppy String Band.
Thanks so much for having us. Thank you. That first song is more of a tune with words. It's one of the many Cumberland's Gap that there are out there, and that was my favorite. I got it from the Possum Trot String Band. Shout out to Don Minnerly from the Possum Trot String Band back in Portland, Oregon, and yeah, that's a lovely, grumpy, tonally fraught kind of tune. Everyone has a different take on Cumberland Gap, the place, the idea. But next we're going to play what I like to call a sort of a Rorschach test of a tune title. This is from the Hamblin collection. It's called Pride of America.
All right, we're going to play a great old-time tune that comes from where I'm living these days. This one comes from Nashville. Fantastic black string band duo there that lived there historically. Fraser and Patterson. Got some great and really interesting fiddle and banjo duets that you can listen to online. And this one we got from them. It's called Old Cow Died. And Mark and I had a bit of a disagreement about this one, which is part of the joy of playing music that we're sort of interpreting from these old scratchy recordings. Sometimes you can't quite hear where the beat is exactly. And Mark and I both kind of heard the downbeat in a slightly different place to each other. So we sent each other versions. And they were kind of two different tunes because, one had the beat starting, like at one point, and one had the beat starting like half a beat later, and it kind of sounded like two different tunes. So we had to decide whose version we were going to play.
And I won.
And Mark is from Australia, which is a bigger country than New Zealand, and in Australia they like to assert their dominance over the minnows in New Zealand. So we've recorded. Well, actually, really, what we're doing is we recorded it Mark's way, and perhaps on an album in the future we'll record it my way, and then we'll have both versions.
Yeah, we'll call it Cow Died Old.
Yeah, Cow Died Old.
Shifted over one.
So here's Old Cow Died, and we recorded this. And most of the music that we'll be playing to you today are on our debut album, self-titled, Tall Poppy String Band. Well, thanks so much. We're going to play a bunch of music today from Kentucky, where we are currently recording. And we all are like very highly influenced by the fiddle music that comes from particularly the eastern part of the state, but also, you know, all over. And myself personally, bluegrass music, of course, which, you know, is such an incredible export from this part of the world. An export that found its way all the way to New Zealand, in fact, and all places in between, I think, as well. But we're going to play a tune that comes from John Salyer, a great old-time fiddler from Eastern Kentucky, and this one is called Kentucky Winder.
Oh, we were gonna do that other one.
Oh.
Which tuning are you in?
The other one.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do the other one then.
Hold that thought.
Hold that.
We'll get to that one in a moment.
Yeah, we're gonna do the cuckoo.
This is just extra
But
fun
first-
for those who are tuned in live.
This version of the cuckoo is from John Snipes. It's originally a solo banjo piece, and Mark did their best to kind of make a comprehensible tune that we can all play together.
Yeah, the original is very soloistic, and sort of, you know, one of the benefits of playing on your own is you can really just do what you want and extend a part if you want to and cut a part short if you want to. So we've done our best to make this a tune that we can all enjoy together.
4-quadrant success.
Thank you.
Okay, now that Kentucky Winder.
Yes. As I was saying in my beautifully constructed introduction earlier,
You fix that in post? Thanks.
we're very influenced by the music from Kentucky, and we're going to play a bunch of it today. And this one here, it comes from John Celia of Eastern Kentucky. It's a really fun little tune called Kentucky Winder. This is the last track on our album. And you'll get to see Cameron have their moment in the sun with a couple of little banjo harmonics that we leave all to themselves.
Finally, a moment to spotlight me. We were doing a photo shoot, and the photographer said, "You have main character energy."
Yeah.
And I thought that was a rude thing to say in front of our whole band.
But you didn't think it wasn't true.
I am so diplomatic in my thoughts and actions, always.
Kentucky Winder, folks. 2, 3, 4.
Thanks.
All right. Well, our guest this evening is Tall Poppy String Band, and how great it is to have you folks with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, I think it makes sense that we begin with the story of how three folks from so far apart would end up together.
Yeah.
George, you in Nashville, and Cameron, you in Portland, and Mark, you in Fort Collins, Colorado.
I got asked this question earlier today. How do you make that work? How do you make your band work, all being so spread out? And my answer was with great expense.
Yeah.
And that's that's the truth of it. But
toppoppystringband.bandcamp.com. Cover overhead, please.
Nice.
Yeah, how did you find each other?
Yeah. Well, we didn't actually all know each other. Cameron knew Mark and myself individually, and I met Cameron at the Old Time Music Fiddlers Convention in West Virginia, Clifftop, or Appalachian String Band Music Festival, in 2018. I want to say. 19?
It must have been 19. Yeah.
29.
Oh my goodness. It feels longer ago than that.
So I feel like Cameron kind of conceived of this band.
I was really excited to meet George Jackson because I believe at the time is when the hashtag Dorigo challenge was going on. George wrote this tune after this festival in Australia, this lovely festival called Dorigo, and it went old time viral.
Yeah, which means like 100.
Yeah, dozens of people posted their versions of this tune, and it was a really lovely moment to see so many old time musicians come together to play a new composition and agree like we are canonizing this right now. So I was like, really excited to meet George, and I've been smitten with the guitar playing of Mark for a really long time because we knew each other in Philadelphia when we both lived there for a little bit. We overlapped, and we would meet at the Gojo Ethiopian bar on the second story in West Philadelphia, and born and raised. Nope. And we would eat Ethiopian cheesesteaks and drink pitchers of beer and play tunes at the eventually weekly Old Time Jam there. And I was working on this solo album during the pandemic because I was jealous of all my friends making pandemic albums. And I was like, I got to do one. And I was working on it, and I was like, you know what? I'm really not enjoying the company of making this solo album by myself. And so I just sort of sent them both a message, like late at night, like, you up? What do you... WYD. And I just cold called them both and said, like, I don't think you two know each other. We should all be in a band. What do you think? And I, was left on red for a little bit, and then and then here we are.
So each of them had their calculators out, trying to sort out the expense of making that a reality.
Yeah.
Well, I lived in Australia for 10 years, so I was a little offended that I didn't know who Mark was because. I thought I knew everybody in Australia that played this kind of music, but I
knew who George was. The aforementioned Dorigo challenge.
And really, was it from the Dorigo challenge that you? Is that how you knew George?
Probably.
Yeah.
And now, listen. To be clear, it was more than 12 people.
Oh, I said dozens.
Oh, okay. It was more than.
I think George said 144.
At least 2 dozen.
More than 144.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, over 100. Well under what would be considered viral in any other sphere aside from old time fiddle.
But in our community, a sensation.
But it was, and it was certainly blew me out of the water. I was taken aback. But yes, I was absolutely stoked to meet Mark through Cameron and to become familiar with their playing. And the fact that also, I love the fact that both of us are, finding our way to old time music, though not having been brought up in the thick of it, and have spent time living in Australia. So, so that's really lovely.
So, who came up with the idea for the band name? And I mean, it sounds like an old time band name.
Yes.
Yeah.
But but who came up with that specifically, and,
I
why?
think Cameron probably came up with it.
On behalf of you
but
two.
on behalf of
Yeah.
myself and Mark, and I'll just introduce it, but I'll let Mark explain it.
Dust
Yeah,
this one off the
in
shelf.
New Zealand and Australia, there's a cultural phenomenon called tall poppy syndrome, and that's what our band is named after.
Well, yeah, it's essentially this idea that, and you know, Australia and New Zealand are not unique in this, but
Right.
we have a name for it there. The idea is that, you know, the people who kind of like do the most, or are extra, or stand out, or draw attention to themselves in some way, the tall poppies are the first to get cut down.
Yeah,
Um,
culturally.
So culturally speaking, that is, you know, censored, put back in their place,
Told to conform.
teased, sometimes gently, sometimes not so gently,
Yeah.
to come back to the fold.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think this is something that George and I both have internalized, and we're trying to work against.
Yeah.
This desire not to stand out, not to seek attention.
Yeah.
And so part of this is part of our name is aspirational.
Yeah.
We want to play old time music in a way that's consistent with us being like divas.
Yeah. Which, each in our own way.
Yes.
Yeah. I know you two well enough now.
Okay, well that
There's
needs
an
to
inner diva.
be developed a little bit.
Yeah.
So So what is it? What is it that you all want to do to old time music?
I
For
think
lots of a better way
Well,
to ask
I
it.
think it's just like playing it in our own way, and but not being afraid to, like old time music can be a place where some of this sort of tall poppy stuff goes on, because you don't want to be seen to be standing out, particularly doing something that's too sort of different or outside the tradition. You want to be seen as like being the most traditional.
Yeah,
or
as being like
something.
responsible to the tradition.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're all about
Sure.
that.
Which like we're really passionate about the tradition, like really passionate about it. But we also want to have the freedom to put our own spin on it, and I
And
think that's part of it.
the tradition is a tradition of iconoclasts and people who are putting their own spin on things, and that is the tradition, and we'll let time decide if our music goes on, or if we're a source recording for someone else. That's none of our business, but all we're doing is like doing our part and playing the music that in the way that we want to do it, because that is traditional.
Well, so
Whoa, man.
Right, so okay, so I'm not gonna push you into talking down the idiom, but do you are there some staid conventions of old time music that you might refer to that are ones that need to be loosened up, some tweaked?
Instrument rolls, I think, is one.
Well, okay. Well, something that we like to do in this band, that is maybe not, quote unquote traditional, but and this is due mostly to the way that Mark plays the guitar, is that, and also the way that Cameron plays the banjo. To be honest, both of them have a very melodic approach to playing old time music. Oftentimes when you're in a trio setting like this, the fiddle will be playing the melody, the guitar will be playing just chordal backup, and the banjo will kind of be somewhere in between. Do you know what I mean? And the three of us here, like, part of the idea of this project is to for all of us to kind of be playing melody at almost all times, and the rare times when Mark does go into guitar backup is the exception rather than the rule.
It's a treat.
Yeah, so like that's something that we do a little differently in this trio, and that we're sort of working on as a sound. Yeah.
And so do you find when you go back to some of those source recordings, do you find in some of those source recordings, musicians actually at that time trying to do some of the things that you seek to do in your music?
We absolutely take like all of our inspiration from those recordings. You were going to say something, Mike?
Oh yeah, I mean that's absolutely true. Yeah,
Yeah.
You sort of learn about old time music and listen to, you get a certain kind of picture of what it's like and what the different instruments are supposed to do and how the instruments are to be played. But you start digging into the source recordings and it just gets wild. Like,
Yeah.
people were teaching themselves to do all kinds of different things
Weird and
and
wacky stuff.
yeah, and the way
There's no conventional way of like playing the fiddle. People did it in all sorts of different ways. There's no conventional way of playing the banjo. People did it in all sorts of different ways. Upstrokes, downstrokes, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, one, like, I don't know, maybe not 1 finger, but,
But there
maybe,
there were conventional ways of them all being played together.
Yeah. So I think that like everyone did it a little bit differently anyway. Do you know what I mean? And we're just taking inspiration from that.
All right. Well, I think we'll get back to some music, and when we come back and talk in a while, maybe we can break that down a little bit and talk about your banjo playing and Mark, your guitar playing, and sort of what kinds of things you're doing that we can maybe listen for.
Sure.
All right. Welcome back, Tall Poppy String Band.
One, two, three. Been all around this two-bit town. This barren ground ain't worth the tillin'. I'm gonna start clean where the pasture's green. This time I'm gonna make a killin'. Mary Sue can go eat a shoe. She got no clue what she is missing. Her head's gonna spin when my ship comes in. Run back all hugging and a kissing. Seen these jays, their fortunes made, their eyes all glazed and pockets filling. They'll soon get used to a licking my boots. This time I'm gonna make a killing. Peter and Paul get a big windfall, and lately all I get is thinner. Seen my share of going nowhere. This time I'm coming out a winner.
the blood and sweat, the foolish bets and backroom dealing. Where I'm bound ain't no keeping me down. This time I'm gonna make a killing.
Well, I promised some more Kentucky fiddle music, and we'll get straight into that. We'll play one from another Eastern Kentucky fiddler by the name of Darley Folks. Now that is D-A-R-L-E-Y, Darley. For any, just to dispel any confusion.
Not as in Salvador.
no, yeah, not that. Darley Folks. F-U-L-K-S. I have to spell out, particularly sometimes when there's R's involved, just to make sure that there's no confusion. But this is a really interesting tune, and Darley was a really interesting fiddler. It really was quite unprecedented, kind of in the way that we were talking about. You know, his style was really unique, and he had a lot of long pauses in his fiddle tunes, and he would sort of often be consistently sort of tapping out this frenetic beat with his foot that was kind of like every single subdivided bar, you know, every single quarter note or whatever, as he sort of played along. So it was a really interesting style, and you'll get to hear how that sort of came out in this tune, which is called Go Away Pharaoh. Or Pharaoh?
Yeah, you got it.
Pharaoh. I don't know if anybody understood anything that I just said, but one really interesting thing about some of these old fiddle source recording tracks is that a lot of times the fiddlers, particularly if you know, of some of these Eastern Kentucky fiddlers who are you know, often just playing by themselves, at least when they were recorded, they didn't have to be playing with other instruments in mind, and they didn't have to be playing with people dancing in mind if they were just playing solo as well sometimes. So they could tune their fiddles down low, like, so the strings were quite loose, and it made it meant that, you know, it's a less harsh sound, and quite enjoyable to play, and it's a bit quieter too. So I've got my fiddle here tuned down a full minor third, so we'll play this one a little low for you.
I never get tired of hearing that outro. That's so pretty, George. This next song is about as close as we get to bluegrass in this band so far. I am playing the wrong kind of banjo and the wrong kind of style for bluegrass, but other than that, it gets pretty close. Yeah. So this is a bluegrass, old-time blues, country, folk crossover hit. Everyone knows this song. We've done a couple things to it. But we've kept intact the important things, which are things that every bluegrass listener loves, like homicidal ideation and descriptions of food and train noises. Just a little bit of everything, something for everyone in this one.
All right.
Here's the train that carried my man from town. 1, 2, 3. Where were you when the train left town? I was standing on the corner with my head hung down. Hey, the train carried a man from town. Hey. I wish to the Lord that the train would wreck you, the engineer, and break the fireman's neck. Oh, hey, the train carried a man from town. Hey, yeah, hey. Woo, woo. Rations on the table, coffee's getting cold. Some dirty cripple stole my jelly roll. Oh, hey, the train carried a man from town. Hey, hey. There goes my man, won't you bring him back? Oh, he's got his hand in my money sack. Oh, hey, the train carried a man from town. Hey, yeah, hey. Woo, woo. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Don't show me a fella that a man can trust. Oh, hey, the train carried a man from town. Hey, yeah. Oh, hey, that train carried a man from town. Hey, yeah, hey. Woo, 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 woo. Train noises.
We've got lots more music and conversation with Tall Poppy String Band. I'd like to take a minute to remind listeners that Red Barn live streams, both tonight's and on any Wednesday, remain available online for you to view at your convenience. Our live video stream is available on the weku.org website, as is our audio stream, compliments of WGAD.net in Central New York. Don't miss a single episode of our program, and be sure to tell your friends what it is that you like about Red Barn Radio. And now, before I tell you about next week's guests, I'd like to give a shout out to one of our patrons of Red Barn Radio, Mr. John Avery. John's continued generosity helps Red Barn Radio produce radio, TV, and live streamed media to audiences in the South and across the country. We'd like to expand our reach to audiences across the world who want to hear the great live music that brings you to Red Barn Radio week after week. And guess what? You can help. Please visit our Patreon page and donate whatever it is that you can. Our guests next week are singer-songwriter, husband-wife duo Rachel Messer and Connor Dale. Rachel Messer, who grew up in Fort Gay, West Virginia holler, draws her inspiration from the country and bluegrass greats before her, penning lyrics with a straightforward, say-it-how-you-see-it style, true to her Appalachian roots. Also, an impressive yodeler, Rachel served time on Team Blake during season 15 of NBC's The Voice, earned herself a good fan base across the world, and has worked hard for every opportunity she can find to share her love for storytelling. Her partner, Connor Dale, was born in Kentucky and raised in New Orleans. They put together a great show, complete with the love, banter, and chemistry that only a married couple can provide, and it's showcased in their presence on stage. You're going to love it. So glad you'll have a chance to hear what they do. It'll be a great evening of music with Connor Dale and Rachel Messer. That's next week on Red Barn Radio. Let's get back to tonight's Red Barn Radio program. We welcome you live on our social media platforms, broadcasting from the Arts Place Performance Hall here in the grand city of Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome back, Tall Poppy String Band.
Hey, thank you.
I'm almost there. Okay. Gotta tune the banjo up high. So this next one is one of my favorite songs from the great songwriter Ola Belle Reed. Great banjoist, Ola Belle Reed, and guitarist. She's a great person. She's the best. I haven't really heard anyone else sing this one other than her in her recordings. But I think this is a really special one. It's a song about all the obstacles to love, external and internal, that we face, especially as young people who don't know what we're doing. It's called Springtime of Life. We fell in love on a green grassy hillside in the springtime of life. Did we chance to meet? Flowers were blooming, birds were singing. The world and its riches lay bare at our feet. So sacred and tender, young love blooming. Once in a lifetime, it happens that way. We made our plans for the day we would marry. We keep it secret till our wedding day. Now both of us knew our love was forbidden, not good enough, the words they would say. But I wanted to marry that boy from the mountains. Happily we planned for our wedding day. springtime had passed, summer did follow. Cold winter winds brought fleecy white snow. No longer we sailed on that green grassy hillside. The love that we shared was lost evermore. Before I moved away, not knowing the reason, I waited so long for him to come, but he did not come. Then there was a message. He found another and left me alone. Now young love in springtime on a green grassy hillside could not withstand the heat and the cold. It was so strong while we were together. Separated, it was lost like a rich man and his gold. Separated, it was lost like a rich man and his gold. Hey, thanks.
So, I'm going to play you a little fiddle tune that comes from Eastern Kentucky. In case you hadn't heard any of those before in this radio show. We actually do play a variety of fiddle music from all across the sort of eastern United States. But it just so happens that some of our favorite is from Kentucky, and particularly some that we recorded on this album. So this one comes from another great fiddler by the name of Hiram Stamper. And we've got this one here is called The Last of Sizemore. All right, and I'll start this one off on my lonesome here, just like Hiram.
If you want to be just like Hiram, you've got to grain up all this footage first.
It's got to be like 1991 or 85 or something. you.
Guess what? It's another Kentucky tune. This one we learned from the playing of a fiddler named Sammy Walker via Bruce Green. And this has just about the... this is the tune with about the most salacious title that we play.
Yeah.
It's called "Kiss Me Quick, My Papas Are Coming." So we tried to inject it with a little bit of that that sort of mixture of excitement and anxiety that the title evokes.
Get ready for an erotic thrill.
Ready?
Not joking.
Wow, you're right. That was erotic.
I'm glad you thought so.
Wow, that really was exciting. That tune is great. So, Mark, I'd like to talk to you first.
Sure.
Because I've spoken with you the least. I spoke with these guys a bunch earlier today, when they were good enough to come over to the school and spend time with the little kids, and that was great time. I would really like to hear you talk about your guitar style. George was talking about it earlier, and you know, I know in the script for tonight, you know, I've referenced your style sort of challenging notions that we have about the role of that instrument in old time music. And I'm not sure that everyone would be able to hear that exactly. You know, folks who aren't necessarily familiar with how guitar works in old time music. I hear it, but I wonder if it might be possible for you to sort of illustrate it. So, like for instance, to play, maybe you and George even could play like just a couple measures or a few measures of an old time tune, sort of straight ahead, and then you could say it, and then you could follow that up with, and this is how I do it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
We could just sort of
could do that.
go back to the tune we were just playing, because
Yeah.
the one that we just played has a section at the end that while we were recording and working out these arrangements specifically, we had these sort of charts where we'd write down the arrangements, and it would be like, you know, guitar, you know, focus here and blah blah blah, you know, like banjo and fiddle are sort of, you know, dropping out here, or, you know, like all sorts of sort of little things that we're sort of subtly sort of doing. But then there would be just the occasion when we wanted to like have that one rare moment in our band where the guitar would just play sort of traditional chordal backup, and we would just have an all caps old time. So at the at the end
Yeah,
of
it's like, all right, that's all we need to know.
That's-
We
yeah.
know what that is.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, the last two times around that tune was more sort of just traditional old time vibes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just getting a note from the producer that Cameron had to stop tuning.
Sorry, I'll go
that's-
farther away next time.
That's a hard thing to ask a banjo player, I know. But, right. All right. Go ahead then.
Yeah, so the last couple of times through that tune, we did sort of that more traditional guitar backup with the fiddle playing the melody. So let's play that just like one time through that tune. So.
And then, Mark, you feel free to talk us through anything you're doing. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of what I was doing in that vein was very much a sort of the traditional role of the guitar in old time music.
Doing some bass runs. And
Yeah, playing the chords, doing that boom chuck rhythm.
Yeah, right.
Playing some linking the chords up with bass runs, and you know I love doing that stuff. But when I started learning old time music, though, I didn't have a fiddler or a banjo player to play with, and so I wanted to play the tunes. And so obviously in the world of bluegrass, there's a sort of strong tradition of flat picking solo, not only solos but fiddle tunes as well. And so I was kind of drawing on that, but sort of finding that stylistically I was wanting to sort of add some things to make it a little bit more comfortable in an old time setting. So that's a lot of the stuff you'll hear me do is sort of trying to play some kind of ringing chords at the same time as I'm playing the melody. So rather than more stuff of that sort of variety. And so yeah, and just kind of I sort of adapted my right hand technique to make it a little bit more kind of give it a bit more of a kind of like a claw hammer style emphasis, you know, a sort of strong backbeat, and yeah, I found that for me, I really like what that did to the kind of playing melodically on guitar in an old time context.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful sound.
Thank you.
Yeah, love it. Do you teach?
I do.
Yeah, and so do some of your students come to you to try to understand the style of playing that
definitely.
you use? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a few students who are kind of on the path, and and it's been fun, teaching this stuff, because I didn't really have a thought for that when I was figuring out how I wanted to play, and so it's been instructive, kind of examining the sorts of things that I do from a teacher's standpoint.
Oh yeah, I bet you do learn a lot teaching. Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Cameron DeWitt is our banjo player. What did you call yourself earlier? The actor.
Main character.
The main character
what
actor.
someone else
up here on
referred
stage. I'm sorry. I know you didn't call yourself that. So you have a style that I was not familiar with this term, and now I'm looking for it. Oh, the pitchfork. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about pitchfork banjo style? It's a 3-finger sort of technique.
Yeah, so it's a claw hammer technique.
Yes.
That uses more than just a downstroke and a thumb, which honestly isn't that uncommon. Like, I invented this technique, but I have since discovered that a lot of other people have also invented this technique, because it's a really intuitive thing to do. They just haven't necessarily tried to brand it or start a video teaching series around it, But even if you listen to a lot of traditional 19th century banjo styles and playing in stroke style and stuff, they do all sorts of combination downstroking and upstroking when they're playing the banjo to catch those syncopated rhythms, and that's basically what I'm doing, but in a very zoomed in kind of way. So the basic, claw hammer stroke is a downstroke followed by usually a thumb or nothing. And when you put two of those together, it becomes, bumpa diddy. If you take out the pa, it becomes bum diddy, or as Pete Seeger would say, bum titty. And really pushing the FCC on this episode. But what people generally do when they want to have a cascading, descending line is they use a combination of drop thumbing, which is where you take your thumb and play a different string than the 5th string. And then when you have the same string, two notes in a row, you do a pull-off or something like that. The issue is that when you want to ascend the same way, it's really, really difficult because you can't drop thumb past the note that you just downstroked with your downstroking finger, because you're supposed to rest your thumb on the string that you're about to play, which means you'd be muting. It would sound like that's my best attempt at the moment. There are people who have adapted their style to kind of be able to do that, and I think that's really neat, but I don't get it. So what I've done instead is when I get to that point where I'm in the 2nd or 4th, the pa or t of the bumpa ditty, that slot of the beat, and I want to play a note on a higher string, I just treat my middle finger as if it was like a drop thumb on the other side of my striking finger.
And for those who don't know, playing a scale like that with the claw hammer technique is pretty difficult and not really not easily attainable with a traditional sort of method. So Cameron's sort of hybrid method, is pretty unique to be able to do that with that much ease.
And the neat thing about it is that people are like, oh, so it's like 3-finger. It's like, well, technically I'm using 3 fingers, but the claw hammer feel stays intact. I'm not picking, in a finger-led way. I'm just getting my finger in the way of the string so it snags on my recovery. I'm still doing drum on a stick, claw hammer banjo playing. I'm just occasionally using a different finger to catch or snag a note. So it feels still like that, driving bang, 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 bang rhythm, that looks like nothing but sounds like, all of this racket and noise and loveliness of, clawhammer banjo playing, which is why I fell in love with it in the first place.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So you're also accessorizing with the with what you have on your fingers. Talk
Sure.
a little bit about what you're wearing there.
Yeah,
on those
so
fingers.
I used to have just long nails, and it requires a lot of care.
I was going to say, can we get a close up on that, or do we already have a close up on those?
Yeah, so these are sitar mizrab, and they're the finger picks that sitar players use, like the classical Indian instrument. And they're really neat because they go down and up. I think it's maybe 2 wires that are wrapped around each other in this particular way. Kind of goes perpendicular to the finger, and it allows you to go, down and up. And it feels like the attack is the same. And you can, do these techniques with nails, but, you have to like emery board them or file them just right. I just want to say, like, there are always like gear guys in music communities, and for banjo players, their gear, they will talk about their nail care. I've never talked with so many cisgendered straight men about nails before in my life. It's amazing. Like there's something important there. But that's their gear, They're like, how do you keep your nails from breaking, and what do you do? How do you baby your nails so that you can keep playing banjo? But I wanted my life back so that I can do the dishes and
Sure.
yeah, certain physical, activities where I would be concerned, I would hold back because I wouldn't want to break my nail or hurt someone.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Cameron. We want to give George a little spot of time too. I want to come back to George, but do tell folks real quickly about your podcast, Get Up in the Cool.
Oh yeah, I have this old-time music podcast called Get Up in the Cool, named after the traditional Texas fiddle tune from Eck Robertson. And it's a weekly old-time jam and interview show. So every week I play some tunes with someone that I've been wanting to play with in the old-time community. It's just a pretense to get together and play some tunes, a way to make sure that I play tunes with someone at least once a week, which is good for my playing and for my mental health and happiness. So that's the main reason I do it, but it's become really important to me and a great way I've made some really lovely friends by, interviewing them. I'd recommend interview your friends, because you ask them different questions and then you learn stuff about them that maybe they wouldn't have said, and then you fall in love with them all the more. So anyway, Get Up in the Cool. It's every week. It's wherever you get podcasts, and it's mostly old-time Appalachian music, usually like a fiddle and a banjo. Sometimes we get some banjo duets on there. Sometimes we have some wild card episodes. We play some Scandinavian, polskas and things like that. Or we had this lovely episode with Lone Pinon, where we played traditional New Mexican string band music, which is so cool and so much fun to try to learn those tunes. And so the main idea of the show is, social music making and candid music making, because I think that that's when the music sounds its best, is when it's being made without a plan and with no goal and no agenda, just to connect with each other. And that's what I wanted to capture when I started the show.
Thanks, Cameron. All right. And George Jackson.
Hi.
Hey, George.
How you doing?
We're doing good. I had to ask you this question. Do people in here make? No, I don't mean in Kentucky, but in this country, spend more time making fun of folks for their accents than they do in other countries?
It happens everywhere. Obviously,
it does.
I actually said to my wife when we went back to New Zealand for the first time in 3 years recently to see my parents for Christmas, that it was nice that she was the one with the accent for once. The tables had turned, and it felt nice to make fun of her accent for a change.
Well, I'm
you
sure
know.
that was a learning experience for her, and I'm sure good for your relationship.
Yeah, I think that you have to make a choice at a certain point when you are living in a country where you don't sound like everybody, and the choice is repeat yourself or change the way that you speak. And I have chosen to repeat myself to try and sort of talk the way that I talk, and when I'm on an aeroplane and they ask what I want to drink and I say water, they will invariably ask me a couple more times, and I'm not mad about it. I've made that decision, and when I go to Starbucks and they ask me for my name and I say George and they write Josh, Josh, that's just part of it, because I'm trying not to sort of affect the way that I speak, to keep a little bit of my identity for myself.
Well, I mean, what does she think you're saying, or he think you're saying when you say water?
I don't think they have a context for it, because, you might have a context for it if you've been listening to me speak for a moment. But if you have no context for what I'm saying, and someone, you assume that they have an American accent and they say water, what does that sound like?
It's like, what?
What?
Or,
yeah.
Right.
Water? Water?
Sure.
I don't. Okay. It's funny. It's a funny thing, but I get asked every day where I'm from, but that's just part of the fun.
Well, curious about that. I was just curious. Talk to folks about your kidhood, because you started playing as a middle schooler, really, right, with your family, or even earlier?
Yeah,
in New Zealand.
Yeah, my parents are musicians, and when I was growing up, they were traveling a lot, and so when I was about age 9, my parents bought a house bus, and we all moved into it so that we could kind of be with them while they traveled around the country, and playing shows. And so eventually my brother and I were just dragged to all of these music shows, and we'd be sort of sitting backstage making a nuisance of ourselves. And I think one of the things that kind of kept us occupied was Mum and Dad would get us up on stage to play a tune or two. And eventually that ended up being the whole show eventually. So, but that was probably from when I was like 10 or 11 that I started kind of performing. But I actually played the electric bass in my parents' band. My brother played the drums, and they were fiddlers, but I started getting interested in fiddle music myself in my own way when I was a teenager, so when I was about 14. So it took me a little while, even though I was sort of surrounded by it. I was more interested in the Red Hot Chili Peppers and playing electric bass than I was in fiddle music until I was about 14, and that's when I discovered bluegrass music and decided I wanted to sort of put a lot of time and energy into it.
Well, to your fiddle playing, something that I've always enjoyed when I listen to your songs, and a number of the songs you've done tonight, the one I requested earlier today, I love the playfulness of the way that you slide up your strings. It's very light and sometimes kind of funny.
Yeah.
and
I like having little musical jokes.
Yeah, it's really sweet. But I feel like you have a lot of fun sort of playing between the notes, and which is a neat thing.
Yeah, totally. Well, now you're sort of triggering my cultural tall poppy syndrome, where I now feel an urge to not draw attention to myself further and deflect all of your compliments. But I will try and resist that urge.
I'll tag in.
Speak to that.
I want to talk about how special it is playing with George, because sometimes
Stop.
I also like torturing George in public. Sometimes it can be a little easy to talk about the narrative of our band in terms of guitar and banjo, because there are some more strict expectations on what our instruments are supposed to do. But I've just never played with anyone who has so much agency and taste, and
nice.
and a sincere love for the source material, all at the same time in this perfect balance. And it's so lovely playing with you, George. It's such a treat.
This is wow. Thank
Look
you,
at it.
everybody.
George, is there something you'd like to say to Cameron?
Oh my goodness. Cameron, thank you. What is it? I'll pay you later.
Mark to Cameron, Cameron to Mark. You guys, this has been so much fun being with you today, and I'm so glad you guys could come and do this whole program
Thank you so much,
on
Brandon.
Red Barn.
This has been wonderful.
So great.
Yeah, great to meet you, Mark and Cameron and George. Great to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And thankfully, we're not saying goodnight yet because you got some more music to play.
We do indeed, and you know, with all that talk about my fiddle playing, I am just gonna sing you a song now.
All right, Tall Poppy String Band.
Thank you. I'm going to sing you a song that you may recognize. That's been popularized majorly in the bluegrass music realm, and also in the popular music kind of realm as well. Thanks to its success as the sort of theme song for the movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" So I guess you probably know which song I'm going to sing now. But this version comes from the West Virginian fiddler. We're working on a bit where
He has no friends.
where Mark and Cameron at that moment in my introduction sort of pop out with sort of what is it
Best
like?
John Turturro and
Yeah.
some Blake Nelson impression.
Anyway,
the big beards.
oh, yeah. But anyway, we're going to play this version of "Man of Constant Sorrow" that comes from Ed Haley, the West Virginian fiddler. And this version, when I heard the source recording, it's just instrumental. Ed Haley is playing this sort of very slow, minor, mournful melody that doesn't really sound anything like the sort of Ralph Stanley version that people are most familiar with. So we set the lyrics to this one as well, and I hope you enjoy it. Man of Constant Sorrow. I'm going to start it off like Ed does, just solo fiddle. I am a man of constant sorrow. I've seen troubles all my days. I bid farewell to all
Oh, for 6 long years I've been in trouble. No pleasure here on earth I found, for in this world I'm bound to ramble. I've no friends to help me now. I bid farewell to my own true lover. I fear I'll never see you again, for I am bound to ride that northern railroad. I might die upon that tree. Well, you can bury me in the valley for many years where I may lay. And while you're dreaming, while you're slumbering, I'll be sleeping in my grave. I bid farewell to my native country, a place where I have loved so well. For I have had all kinds of troubles in this vain world, no time can tell. But friends, although I am a stranger, my face you'll never see no more. But there is one promise that's been given: we can meet on the distant shore.
Thank you.
So, this next one was commissioned for our Kickstarter to fund our album, and specifically commissioned for me to write a tune.
The main character.
And so I had a little email conversation with the person. I was like, tell me like a funny, cute story about what you might want this. It's going to be an instrumental tune, but just give me an idea, some inspiration. Like, what do you want this tune to invoke or be about? And she taught me something really cool, which is the story about how the Choctaw Nation, fresh from the Trail of Tears, gave this huge financial gift to the Irish during the what I was taught to think of as the Great Potato Famine. But what I wasn't taught was that actually there was enough food being grown on that island. It was just all being sent away to absentee British landlords. And that's why the population of Ireland during that time was cut less than half of what it has been, and 2 million people died, and that many more than that, left. All because of private ownership and greed and colonialism. And I think that this story is so beautiful and so powerful and subversive because it's about two indigenous peoples seeing each other and recognizing themselves in each other, past racial identities, and in this really brave and costly show of solidarity, saying, we belong to each other, and we're gonna have each other's backs. And I was like, okay, that's not a cute story. That's not like a fun little anecdote, but and that's also not something that maybe I would feel was my place to write about. But I was so honored to be asked to write about that from this person who is both of Choctaw and Irish heritage. She's a registered member of the Choctaw Nation and got to go to Ireland, to County Cork, where the statue was erected, called Kindred Spirits, and that's where the title of this tune comes from: 9 eagle feathers in a County Cork park.
Thank you.
That's a Cameron DeWitt original there, and a new one since we recorded our album too, so maybe that'll be on the next project. All right, well, we're going to sing you another one soon as we're in this mode of playing songs that were sort of asked of us through our Kickstarter campaign. Part of the process of when we were putting this album together was that we ran a Kickstarter campaign, and we have to sort of come up with various levels of support that people can give us. One level that we had was the old time jukebox, and we would just have people sort of say, hey, we want you to play this song. It can be whatever song you want within reason. We did have the within reason because
But yeah, to our delight, people picked songs that we love.
yeah.
So
yeah,
but we might not ordinarily kind of give ourselves the excuse to play.
we were a little concerned that maybe we would have gotten something like Beyonce just because we knew we couldn't pull it off.
Yeah. She's the queen.
But we did get us to sing this one, and Mark's gonna sing lead on this one for you.
This is I'll Be Here in the Morning by Townes Van Zandt.
Good work, band. Perfect amount of banner. I'm ready. I'm an A.
1, 2, 3. There's no stronger wind than the one that blows down a lonesome railroad line. No prettier sight than looking back on a town you left behind. There's nothing that's as real as the love that's in my mind. Close your eyes, I'll be here in the morning. Close your eyes, I'll be here for a while. There's lots of things along the road I'd surely like to see. I'd like to lean into the wind and tell myself I'm free. But your softest whispers louder than the highway's call to me. Close your eyes, I'll be here in the morning. Close your eyes, I'll be here for a while. All the mountains and the rivers and the valleys can compare to your blue-lit dancing eyes and shining yellow hair. I could never hit the open road and leave you laying there. Close your eyes, I'll be here in the morning. Close your eyes, I'll be here for a while.
crying eyes. I'll be laying here beside you when the sun comes on the rise. I'll stay as long as the cuckoo wails and the lonesome blue jay cries. Close your eyes, I'll be here in the morning. Close your eyes, I'll be here for a while. Close your eyes, I'll be here in the morning. Close your eyes, I'll be here for a while.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Well, there are so many people to thank for our program. First, Tall Poppy String Band, our guest this evening. We are ever grateful for our volunteers and staff who make our production happen each and every week. We want to thank all of you for listening to our webcast, watching us on social media, and on the Red Barn network of stations in media worldwide. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn's premier radio partner, Central and Eastern Kentucky's radio news leader. You can listen online at weku.org. It's your chance to hear more great live music from Red Barn Radio and WEKU. That's NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Those of you here in the Central Kentucky area, you got to be sure to check out Red Barn TV. It's our weekly program of music, now on ABC 36 WTVQ. Red Barn Radio comes to you from our home, the Arts Place Performance Hall in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. Our website has updates and further information on our guests and our program. We're on the web at redbarnradio.com. Now, before we close out tonight's program, let's bring back Tall Poppy String Band. I think they have one more number to play for us.
Thanks so much, Brad.
All right, yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
So cool to be here. And this last song is another Ola Belle Reed song. This is another one that I don't think people play enough because she's got so many. It's hard to dig through how many there are and how many of them are so good. But this is probably my favorite gospel song. I used to do a lot of religious singing and activities and thinking, and I don't anymore. And I'm happy about that. But there are some things that I miss. The communal singing is really awesome. And every once in a while, some of the things that, I, amidst all the stuff that I tried to unlearn, some of the stuff I think I want to hold on to. And this song, I think, really captures that because Ola Belle Reed is really tuned in to what the Gospels are about. And one thing that keeps coming up over and over again, as Jesus is, being open-minded and pluralistic and eating and hanging out with the people that he's not supposed to. There's one kind of person that he consistently will publicly embarrass and shame and cancel. And that's people who hoard wealth at the expense of others. Over and over again. Read your Bibles, folks. That's in there. And Ola Belle Reed knew that, and she wrote this awesome song about it. It's an anti-capitalist, eat the rich gospel song from the great Ola Belle Reed. It's called Fortunes. And if you feel implicated by the lyrics of this song, you can redistribute some of your wealth by visiting us at tallpoppystringband.com, and you can find our album there and visit all of our separate websites. And, buy our albums there and sign up for our lesson services. And let's make a more just world in the way that Ola Belle Reed saw it. We'll start there. That's the modest first step. There's more to do. All right, here's Fortunes from Ola Belle Reed. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. are fortunes in a lifetime, all the money cannot buy. Like a tiny little snowflake slowly floating from the sky. Oh, there are wonders never ceasing, created by our master's hand. Oh, the greatest of all our fortunes is in God's promised land. Oh, the rich man with all his money, all his silver and all his gold, he can't buy one breath of life or a home for his spirit soul. For it is bought and it is paid for by the blood of the blessed Lamb. The greatest of all our fortunes is in God's promised land. Mark Harris on the guitar. George Jackson on the fiddle. There are fortunes in a teardrop. There are fortunes in a smile. In the face of a weary pilgrim. In the face of a little child. Oh, there are fortunes in your Bible. Read it close and you might understand. The greatest of all our fortunes is in God's promised land. Oh, the rich man with all his money, all the silver and all his gold, he can buy one breath of life or a home for his weary soul. For it is bought and it is paid for by the blood of the blessed Lamb. The greatest of all the fortunes is in God's promised land. Oh, the rich man with all his money, all his silver and all his gold, he can buy one breath of life or a home for his weary soul. For it is bought and it is paid for by the blood of the blessed Lamb. Oh, the greatest of all the fortunes is in God's promised land. The greatest of all the fortunes is in God's promised land. Thanks so much, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, that's all for our show for this week. You can see and hear Red Barn Radio worldwide as we stream live on the web on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern in North America. You can also listen to archive performances on Patreon, Spotify, and iTunes. Hey, remember, every like, comment, share, and subscribe helps bring roots music Southern style to your neck of the woods. And finally this, if any of our featured artists are performing in your area, get out and see them. They need you now more than ever. From all of us here at Red Barn Radio to all of our friends worldwide, keep working together to be safe and healthy. And until next time, good night from Red Barn Radio.